Gentlemen, I have 545. Is Johnny good? Yeah, okay. We're here to do the public hearing for the implementation of a broadband ordinance. We're going to open this public hearing now, so we'll turn the floor over to Ms. Gribble.
Hello. So this is the second public hearing for the Broadband Ready ordinance. And I'll just recap it. The state of Georgia back in 2018 implemented the Georgia Broadband Deployment Initiative, and part of that initiative put together a team at the state level to look at broadband in the state and what the state could do to help support broadband expansion. And one of the things that they suggested is counties implement a broadband ready ordinance and amend the 10-year comprehensive plan, which you do through DCA. So we amended the comprehensive plan. It's with DCA right now. That's one piece of becoming broadband ready. The second piece is voting this broadband ready ordinance into place. So that's what this public hearing is about. What I want to mention is this ordinance is being put in place basically, I'm going to summarize, to reduce obstacles to broadband infrastructure investment. So when I say broadband, I want you to think about high-speed internet, so good quality internet. Okay. So this ordinance requires that for any broadband project, we would have a single point of contact for permitting and right-of-way. And so that point of contact is going to be Marie Woody out of the Land Development Office. And within that ordinance, it creates timeliness. You have to respond at within a certain time frame. I believe it's 10 days that we have written in here. The ordinance is actually written by the state of Georgia. It's written by DCA, and we don't vary from what they suggested. So ideally, the state of Georgia would have every community with the same written ordinance. So that's great. And then the ordinance also limits fees that we could charge for permitting broadband projects. So that's the gist of the ordinance. It was brought up in the last meeting. I'm just going to touch on this. I'm not going to get into any detail. Some concern around 5G. I think from the whole community standpoint, we don't want to get into any conversations around 5G. What I'm working with and all the research and conversations I've had have been with internet service providers such as Blue Ridge Mountain EMC, ETC. Those are organizations that put wired internet to homes. 5G is related to mobile phones, so that's not what we're talking about. So I will pause for a moment and see if anybody has any questions.
If anybody's got any questions or anything they'd like to say, just raise your hand and we'll make it happen. Let's don't all jump up at once. Crickets.
I'll just share that having spent the past week where that if you got 1 bar of service, you just stood there and prayed that you could finish a telephone call. This would be wonderful.
I'm kind of with you. I made this comment at the chamber. You know, we were talking about the thoughts of getting better internet countywide in most places in the county now. And I made a joke, but realistically, I'm still waiting for dial-up myself. We live out in a part of the county that's unfortunately at this point it's not going to be affected by this, but hopefully later it will. And you know, I know for we go back to last year when there was a lot of homeschooling going on and things like that. It would have been great to have better internet, you know, for everyone. So I personally am pretty excited at the thoughts that we may be able to help a lot of citizens in the county in this aspect, so.
Yeah, and I've said this all along, just to recap, what the state of Georgia has been ahead of a lot of states in trying to get their communities to understand the internet needs, and so I commend Georgia for that. But what we're doing with this ordinance, what we're doing to try to be broadband ready is exactly what it says, just trying to be ready for ways that we can help our service providers, such as ETC, Blue Ridge Mountain EMC, go after grant money as it's released. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later in the meeting. Yep.
That's good.
Oh.
You've got a question?
Just
Yes.
one question, the infrastructure for the investments, is it below ground or above ground, or?
It depends. It's both. So, for instance, Blue Ridge Mountain EMC, they are a power provider that serves the east side of the county, northeast side. So they just serve a portion of power. They have power lines that they can connect internet cables to. I believe they've told me that they may have some underground. It's more costly to go underground, so it depends. Different areas may have underground or overhead. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Any new developments though would be going underground?
No, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
No. So, like Blue Ridge Mountain, for example, they would look at the cost, and for them to use their existing power lines is probably the most cost effective. Anything else?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, nothing further, we'll close the public hearing. All right. We'll start out with under invocation. Mr. Patricia, you care to do that for us?
Do that. Let us pray. Lord gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you now, thanking you for your many blessings, Lord, and asking your blessings to be upon this meeting. Lord, we can't do anything without you. We ask that you would give us commissioners an open mind, and more than an open mind, that we would seek your guidance and give us wisdom. Thank you for each of the citizens that are here, and the ones that couldn't make it, Lord. We ask that you just be with each and every one in a special way as only you can be. Lord, thank you now again for this meeting place, and we ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Commissioner Search, will lead us in the pledge?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Please present the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank y'all. We'll go under unfinished business. We have the approval of the minutes of the June 13th, 2021 regular scheduled board meeting. Commissioner Patricia, you notice any error or omissions?
I don't see any errors or omissions at all, so I'm okay with it. Thank you.
Commissioner Surson?
No, sir. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the June 13th regular scheduled board meeting. I'll ask for a second.
Second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 3 under unfinished business, and I apologize, it was a typo, and that's my fault, but it's actually the opening of the bids on a type 1 ambulance remount. Ms. Doss?
Are these, which are, I know this is Document Road. This is California, just this one? Okay.
I know Miss Huffman was gonna be here this evening, I think she's actually working on a truck, so I think they must have got busy and she wasn't able to be here.
All right, so the first bid received, gentlemen, is from FESCO Sales out of Ashland, Virginia. And it is for, okay, after we go through everything, it says, after careful evaluation of the module to be remounted, we are not preparing a bid. Again, we appreciate the opportunity. That's a first.
Appreciate your time.
Interesting. All right, and then Custom Truck at Body Works Inc. They are in Woodbury, Georgia. The total bid price is $120,050. And this does not include power locks added on side and rear entry doors, which would be an additional $675.
Any discussion on that, Commissioner Patrick?
Is that it?
Those are the only two that we have.
Yeah, I would like to also ask, I guess, Patrick, are you gonna need those power locks and doors? What do you think?
Probably so, but I think she'd like to review it to make sure it met all the specs before accepting.
Okay, but probably so.
I think, yeah, they got it on the last truck.
$175.
$675.
$675, yeah. That's all I've got.
Patrick, since you're the only one here, how much was our last remounts? Do you remember at all what the last remounts were?
It was close to that, maybe a little less.
Was it?
It's between 110 and 120, I believe.
Okay, 110 and 120, I think.
I think so.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think it was pretty close to that
Yeah.
myself, if I remember correctly.
And the price of a new ambulance is,
Closer to 150. Don't quote me on that, but it's 150 to 160, somewhere in there.
and I was thinking that, last time I spoke to Robert, they was gonna go up a little bit to around the 160 mark.
Yeah.
Okay. And the one we're remounting, the truck itself, they have low miles on, I mean, do we know the truck itself?
I mean, miles.
I'm not for sure which one they're talking about remounting this time, but
Okay. And I hate to put you on the spot there, but, Commissioner Searcy, you got any discussion on
I
this?
just heard the big, how much is the bid for?
$120,050, and if you
And that's
add,
to put a box on a chassis,
yes,
120,000?
yes.
I need to go in and put boxes on chassis, man. Is that the only bid we got?
Yes.
It was pretty close to what we had last time.
Yeah, there's,
Okay, is this average to, I couldn't hear what Patrick was saying. Is this the normal cost of this being done?
I think it's gonna be elevated just a little bit, but maybe because everything else has gone up as well. Because I know
Yeah.
the price of just a new ambulance, if I'm not mistaken, and don't hold me to it,
Are
but
we budgeted, was we prepared for this?
I think so. I think that's in the budget.
I think they put it in the budget last year for a remount this year.
Okay.
For us
Okay.
to get the bids for a remount.
Johnny, you know, this is for the safety of the employees. They have a lot of lifting they've got to do, and it really does help in that area, right?
Well, that, and also it replaces the chassis. You know, it's remounting the same box, but it puts it on a new chassis.
Puts it on your chassis, right?
All right.
And so you got, excuse me, gentlemen, so we got one bid, and then one person didn't even want to make a bid, but was happy we contacted them, correct?
Yeah.
And so there's nobody else that does this type of stuff.
There are very few that will do a remount, but if you were getting a new truck, there'd be several that would bid.
Patrick says there's very few that do remounts, very few. But if we were going with a new one, we would get more bids as far as that goes. There's more people that do
Completely
new ones over the other.
But the whole object of the game is that, well, okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Jim and I think we should table this until the next meeting to give them an opportunity to take a look and make sure it meets our requirements.
Specs.
Yeah, I think that
As far as that goes. So, I'll make a
I'll agree with
motion,
that.
I'll make a motion that we table this till the next meeting, give an opportunity to look over.
I second.
All in favor?
Maybe you can look too at a new one and see the differences.
Yep.
That would be as well possible.
Yeah, we can do that.
Number 4 under unfinished business, again, it's the opening of the bids for the work on Salem Road. Mr. Ratcliffe, come up. We got a ton of them coming in too.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's working.
Yeah.
I think we also got one.
Hey Sherry, would you move the computer just a little bit?
Yeah.
Hey, John.
Oh, gosh, Jack, you broke my, or Zach, you broke my leg.
Yeah, I think you look at yourself there.
All right, this is, the county received one bid from Johnson Paving for a total project cost of $299,433. It includes $9,750 for traffic control lump sum, 45,300 linear feet of 4 foot, am I reading this right, or 4 inch, 12.5 millimeter asphalt.
What's the deal?
Pardon?
I think it's 4 inches deep.
Oh, okay. And there is a check for the, a official or certified check for the bid security. And that is the only bid that was received.
I'm good with it, kind of
Do we need time on that to make sure the requirements, I mean,
it's exactly what I seen them, so as far as the bid sheet, got to be safe return bid sheet. So, includes traffic, everything's right here where it should be.
okay.
Now,
You satisfied?
they happen to say when you can start the work.
I'll just have to talk to him, he's, of course, he's got the other contract too, so, I'd rather him finish the one he started on, get it before this one, but yeah. This is
He's
gonna
already
be a-
started it, right?
Huh?
He's already started the
Oh,
other.
yeah, he's supposed to start here within the next week or so. With this being, you know, the money that we had, there'll be another second part to this one, and it'll be the striping. And I'm not putting it out there until this gets done, because we do a 30-day start period.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait till the asphalt gets done, we need to cure for at least a month, or 3 weeks, or something like that, to cure before we put anything else. So, rush anybody, so, okay, wait. So we'll have some striping, get that there shortly. It comes out of the same building.
Right, right.
So our bottom dollar for doing that would be the $299
It is.
after the LD,
Yeah,
all that comes out.
right. 299 for 33.
And that is Salem Road in its entirety.
Yes, so we said be those shoulders on that road, just both sides.
Well, take advantage of this while we can. It is there is some ILMIC money coming down the pipe for us on this, and otherwise it would cost us quite a bit to make this happen. So I would ask for a motion, unless y'all feel we need to table it, I would ask for a motion that we approve the bid to Johnson Paving. And he's met all the requirements, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I would ask for a motion that we award the bid, proposal from Johnson Paving for Salem Road work. I'll ask for that motion.
I'll make a motion for that.
Ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Okay, under new business, number 5, we have a variance request from Lawrence and Patricia White to build a garage 37 feet from the center line and 20 feet from the edge of Premier Drive. Is there anyone here in opposition to this variance? Okay. I think Mr. and Ms. White are actually here, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Commissioner Patterson, any thoughts?
Me and Mr. White and I discussed it earlier today, and I feel it's going to be, it's going to need some reclining wall, but other than that, it's not a lot of digging, but I think it's going to work out. I think he'll be fine.
Commissioner Searcy, any discussion?
No, sir, everything was fine on what I found.
The only thing I would say that we put on there is obviously the county will not be responsible for any stormwater runoff, just given the grade of coming down and how it runs down that bank behind it. So that's the only thing I would make.
That retaining wall's got to be good.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion that we approve the variance request from Mr. and Ms. White. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Request approved.
Thank you.
More than welcome to stay if you like.
Thank you.
Number 6, Mike Painter's here with a presentation of the Aquatic Center.
Good afternoon. So how long do I have? 1 hour?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, no. So basically, I'm back before you, the 3 of you, to talk a little bit more further detail about one of my brainstorms about trying to use some current facilities that we have within the city. And I'm speaking not necessarily on behalf of the city council, I'm speaking as a citizen, number one, and as a council member as well. Of course, I put in front of each of you, and Johnny, you'll have to look at this later, but I think you trust me. But anyway, if you go back and look at originally 1990, and at that time I was on the recreation board, and this was the original plan for our recreation complex out there. And if you see the highlighted areas, there are several areas there that we did not complete on the original plan. And one of the things that we've tried to do as a city is to work with the county and the school system. The next thing I gave each of you a kind of a packet on splash pads, because I know Mr. Patterson, and there's been a lot of discussion on the internet about splash pads. So if you'll go back to the original proposal when I was here before talking to you about the Aquatic Center, I talked about adding a splash pad, and I think since then there have been some people talk about maybe putting out the rec center. So I asked Mr. O'Neill, your recreation director, this morning if he would attend the meeting night so we could kind of discuss it. I've done a lot of research, and I just wanted y'all up front to look. Like in front is a splash pad that was constructed in Lincoln County, Lincolnton, Georgia. I was actually there on Sunday and took that picture. And the reason I have that is because at the city we were looking at maybe filling in our pool, which has not been open for the last 2 years, because of the cost and the repair work that needed to be done. So we looked at doing a splash pad. Well, this first splash pad is exactly what Lincoln County did. They filled in their pool, $156,000. And you can see that splash pad. If you go to the second page, that is a typical recommended splash pad for communities our size. The great thing about the internet, you can go put in the population, pull it up, and it'll give you all the different scenarios. That splash pad scenario right there is about $350,000.
What's that first, excuse me, Mike, the first one?
The first was $156,000. And the reason it was so cheap is because they filled in their current pool.
Right.
And they already had a bathroom facility and they had sewer and, you know, city sewer and everything there. The second one, like I said, is roughly around $350,000 if you look on the internet at the different ones. And that's just for the basic, that's not the prep, that's not the grading, that's just the splash pad itself. The third one is Meeks Park. And I was very curious, and I talked to Mr. O'Neill, and I just kind of asked you, what did Meeks Park spend on the splash pad 4 years ago?
I talked to the firm that installed that splash pad. In 2016, that splash pad was $360,000.
And then, of course, the fourth splash pad is Cherokee County's new splash pad, and that's about $1 million for a splash pad.
Cherokee County, Georgia?
Yeah, that was done last year. And, you know, this is no pool, it's a splash pad with about 3 foot of water. And that's what a lot of the areas around the country are going to. But there's a lot of requirement with the bathrooms, the water system. You gotta have adequate sewer. I mean, it's a lot of work. And these are the things that I've been looking at with the city, trying to figure out how do we reopen our pool? Do we spend the money? Is it worth spending the money for a 3 to 4 month time frame? So, you know, going into the Aquatic Center, the thought process of it, and I did talk to Mr. Watney yesterday, and basically he informed me of what I could say and what I couldn't say, so I'm gonna tell you what I can say. You know, the school system just recently purchased a lot of property next to the high school. And of course, if you start going forward 10 to 15 years, there's probably gonna be a lot of plans to consolidate a lot of different things within the school system, within the county, for cost. But if you look at the neighboring counties we have, Gilmer County, they do not have an outside pool. I gave you a copy of their proposed indoor facility last time, and it's in that red packet as well.
Okay.
If you go, right now, the closest swimming facility is in Blairsville, and it's owned by the hospital.
Right.
And then, have you had a chance to go look at that at all?
No, I haven't yet. Huh?
And then if you really look at a swimming facility, it's in Calhoun, and it's about 15 years old over there. And we've got some students actually from Fannie County that drive to Calhoun 2 days a week for swimming because of their own swim teams. But when you start looking at, you know, the population of our county, currently 26,000 with a 10-year projection of between 40 and 50,000 people in this county. And then you start looking at our current age of 52.1 years old and projected to be 55 years old average age. When you start looking at all the statistics, and then you start looking at 72% of adults who swim in an indoor pool in the United States. And then when you start looking at all the statistics, it makes sense of why we should have this type of facility here. Going back to some of my comments at the last meeting was talking about how do we fund this thing? Well, first of all, we have to have a feasibility study. And I put some basic pages in your packet right there. It should be on the top there for y'all to look at. This is from Davis County, excuse me, the city of Davis. It's a small county in California, or city in California, pretty much like our city. And they decided to do a feasibility study And the bottom line is, it took about 3 or 4 months, they hired a firm, and the firm came in and they interviewed the people, they looked at all of the property. They determined where the pool should be. They determined how big the pool should be. But they did a full feasibility study. And of course, that's expensive to do, but if you just go to the very back page, for their site plan option 1 was about $9 million. And I think the last time I was here, I said somewhere between $8 and $10 million. If you look at all the other cities and county governments around the country our size, that's what they're projecting because of growth. So if you look at our growth, based on the best of my ability right now without doing a feasibility study, where we're projected to be in 10 years and 15 years, and then with our age of our population, we're gonna need a pool very similar to this, and a health club and all. And of course, this is, you know, going back to what we talked about before, some of the things that I would propose that we would have in it would be an indoor heated six lap pool classes. We'd have classes and meets, an outdoor splash pad and spray fountains, but if the county wanted to put it direct for them, have no problem with that whatsoever.
Mike, is that amount 9 million or roughly around 9 million, is that included with everything else? Splash pad?
That's everything. That's pretty much.
That's what
yeah.
they have?
Get your indoor heated pool.
Yeah, that's turnkey, all of it.
Now, is this current, or is this?
It's a couple years up.
2018?
Yeah, this is a couple years old. But
So we're looking at more than that?
we could be, but, you know, one of the things that I've been looking at is doing it in stages. And the great thing is, if I were to be able to persuade the city of Blue Ridge to use our current facility, and our current facility, which my thought process is the farmer's market, which is adjacent to the high school here in the city limits. That's about $1 million to $2 million of property and grading and a lot of work that we're not going to have to spend because we already have that. We have no, the city has no debt on that property whatsoever out there. Number one. Number two, we can do it in stages. And I'm looking at a intergovernmental agreement between the school system, the county government, and the city. For example, I mean, right now, when you start looking at money, and I know it's almost budget time, and that's the reason I'm kind of back here right now. I'm trying to figure out what's best for this community, not only today, but 10 years now. This is a 2 to 3 year project. It's not something we're going to decide today to happen. We need to do a feasibility study, but the high school itself, they're being pushed to have an aquatics program and a system. And either they're going to probably build it down the road and they'll use all of their money, or it'll be more a city-county joint venture. Why do I think it's important to do a joint venture? Well, as all of us know in the school systems, a lot of the school facilities are locked down. Our basketball program is a direct program for the rec. Our soccer program, it's hard to use the school facilities. It's always been that way. And you would understand that very well. But I feel like that, you know, I ran the numbers, not the $8 to $10 million, how we get to that. But if you start looking at the cost of the day-to-day and the money, the revenue, Meeks Park charges $5 a person. It doesn't matter if you're in Union County or you're a visitor to Union County. I think what we could do, and based on the numbers and everything I put together, that, you know, if you're a county resident, you pay a certain dollar amount. If you're a visitor, you'd have a day pass. But we would also do memberships for our businesses and everybody like that. But also, if you go to the local golf courses and you see a lot of the 60 and 70-year-old guys and gals out there working, most of them are not working for pay. They're working for free golf. And I think some of the counties I've been talking to, that's where a lot of their manpower comes from for these aquatic centers. Because you've got seniors, they like the wellness center, they like being able to go in there and swim. You've got all of your disability groups and disabled groups that love to have the inside facility. So you go back and look at the city of Blue Ridge, putting in a swimming pool. Probably right now, if I do a pool there, or the city, we do a pool next year, $200,000. What do we have? 3 to 4 months. And it's not a profit. You know, we don't make any money. You lose money with it, but more importantly, on top of it, you have the liability, you got a 3 or 4 month project. We're talking 24/7, year-round facility for our county. And what I think it will do, it will set us apart from all the other counties here in the mountains and give us a direction of being, you know, we have all these visitors that come in. We get the splash money, we get the loss money, we get the hotel motel money. You know, we're getting all this money, we're paving roads. I mean, just like what y'all just did, we're doing in the city, we're doing street, we're doing sidewalk. Sunday afternoon, they all leave. What do we have? What does our residents have year round? We don't have anything. We got roads. And, you know, we just recently had affordable housing. We've had another complex wanting to come in. We've got a lot of things coming into this neighborhood and this community. It's going to grow. I think we got 2 large developments right now within the county, 150 homes, both developments. This county is going to grow, but do we grow correctly, or do we just, and I'm just saying this, did we just do a quick splash pad because someone may donate a little bit of money for us to do it, and we do a half-rate facility, or do we do a long-term plan?
And that's a good question. You know, like when we look back, do we do it correctly?
Right.
And that's what I look back at years past. Do we do it correctly?
Do it correctly. I mean, and you know, and like I said, I love our recreation facility, and this program will not interfere with the recreation facility. We're not going to have soccer.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What happened and what about the farmers then? What are we doing for the farmers?
Well, hey, you know, you and I both know I love the farmers market. I was an FFA officer for 4 years in high school. I totally believe in the farmers market. But the city and the farmers market, that farmers market's been sitting there for 10 years, unused.
That's sad, Mike. That's sad.
Unused. We spent over $100,000 of taxpayers' money on the farmers market, you know, just to keep it there. And that's with electricity and water and
So have we reached back out to the FFA to see if they would be interested in doing anything like that again? Do we, have we reached out to the UGA Extension Center to see what the uses could be?
Well, see, go ahead, John.
Well, my concerns is that I'm all for helping. I like the Aquatic Center. I would like to see us someday achieve those type of goals, but we're talking about 3 different entities that's going to, that we're trying to combine to see if we can work a partnership up with. The school system, like you said, they just spent about a bunch of money, or spent a bunch of money and bought a lot of land. And one day they're going to have a swim team. I do believe that. Are they going to build that facility there on the property that they have? Is that going to cause them, maybe if we have this person to help us, or this group, are they going to leave us? There's going to be a lot of paperwork that's going to have to be done if we're going to do any kind of joint things together, because we both have to take care of our governments, like you do too, Mike, and we do too, and there's nothing more I'd like to see than to do something for the kids. So there's a lot of questions in this. It's a great plan, but there's still a lot of questions. I do love the farmers market. I was there when your dad, Robert Green, and James Phillips, Brenda Queen, Helen Wilson, Tony Lindsay, got with the Secretary Commissioner of the State Agriculture, Tommy Irwin, when they gave that building to the city. So it means a lot. There's a lot of thumbprints that reminds you of the days of the past. But I do know that we need to plan for the days of the future too. But we just can't. I don't know, and it's a great plan, guys, I mean, but it's just something we're really gonna have to study about, because we have a lot of other things that we're working on too. With that White Path building, matter of fact, right there's 6 acres. So,
Well,
I mean, you
and-
know, how many acres is that farmer's market?
Right now, if you look at all of it, it's right at 4.1 acres there totally, if you include all of the property that the city owns in that geographical area. And of course,
What amount of that would be affected by that aquatic center?
yes,
I mean,
Do what now?
there would be 4 acres,
right,
more or less,
roughly 4 acres
affected by that.
affected by that right there. You know, and Johnny, you know, talking about the high school, if you look at, for example, the upper field, I just hosted the city, we just hosted the World Series, the USA Girls World Series. And they love that top field. Why? Because the city has an intergovernment working agreement with
With the
the
school.
county, I mean, with the school system, and they spent money to build that
School.
facility.
The schools.
And that's how we were able to host the World Series, because we had that super top field. They've already signed up for next year. They said there'll be 60 teams there next year. I believe, you know, I do not want to say, hey, let's vote for, spend $10 million. I don't know what we're spending. What I'm really asking for right now, and that I'm gonna be going to the school board, I wanna do a feasibility study. And,
Yeah.
and it costs some money. It's gonna take some time to be a full architectural drawing of what phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 would be like. The feasibility study will tell us and show us exactly. They'll look at our current recreation facility, the Hammond Park, all of our facilities, and they'll come back with recommendations of what this size, our growth, our revenue, what we should do.
And what's the cost of this feasibility study?
I've got 2 or 3 quotes out there right now, but the city right now, I have some money, or I don't, but the city does right now. And it has to be spent by the end of the year, we lose this money. And it's for things just like this, to do feasibility studies and strategic planning toward the recreation side. So what I'm trying to do right now is I'm looking for the county for $25,000, school system for
But what was, I mean, was it
it's
$75,000?
roughly 75,000.
Was it?
We'll do a feasibility study and the architectural drafting and drawing and everything. And it's probably gonna take 6 or 8 months to do the study.
Okay, so I mean, I'm not speaking for all that, but I'd like to see a copy of those proposals that they have sent to you.
Yeah, I can get that to you. I can go out and get the proposals. I just didn't want to spend a lot of time and effort, because I've already spent a lot on this to this point right here. But-
Excuse me, Mike, give me a breakdown on what the school would spend.
Well, with the property and all, the school, it's gonna be an $8 to $10 million project, pretty much a 10-year program. Depending on whether we do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, or do it all at the same time, will tell us what type of revenue that we can generate from this facility. But if you look at, if the facility was paid for, Johnny, and we were just running it based on the numbers, it'd be a profit of about $150,000 a year based on my numbers of what we would generate with revenue and what we would be spending. It'd be a
So
profit.
where's this money, excuse me, where's this money go, and how's it divided up?
Well, that's where we got to come together as our 3 entities to see, you know, what the city can do over a 10-year period, what the county thinks they can do over a 10-year period, and what the school system can do.
Well, I mean, my concern is, and I'll just know how to put it out there the way it looks. My concern is if there's no return for the county, and that's something that we'll have to sit down and take a look at before we consider it. But, you know, I don't want to be the funding force behind this, and then.
No, I'm looking at it a third.
Yeah, the way I look at this, and this, again, I'm not trying to be argumentative or anything. Yeah, it's gonna help our county citizens, but a lot of things that you have, other than a pool, we have at our rec department already. So, you know, at what point in time does, and by no means am I saying the school's going in this, but let's just say, okay, we have this class from 9 to 10. We have this class from 10 to 11, 12 to 1. And then from 5 to 10, the school gets it. So then we look at, okay, where is the benefit, you know, for everybody in the county when it comes to that? So, you know, there is a lot of unknowns, you know, and that's something that we really need to look at before, and again, I'm not speaking for the other two commissioners, but before I commit to it, I need to see what is coming back to us, you know, what the expenditure, if your number says that we're gonna profit 150,000, after all is said and done, is that 50-50-50? You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
These things that we would
that's what-
have to put on paper before.
That's the reason I feel like
and-
you know, the other great thing that, and I've done a lot of research on this, and quite frankly, I did not realize this, but if you go and I put a copy of in there, the city of Blue Ridge, we have section 170. So, and we already have our letter from the IRS, and I'm sure the county does as well. But if we have a specific project that we're working on in the city, the community can donate and deduct that from their taxes on an annual basis. I personally feel like that if we do a good job, that a third of the revenue needed of the $10 million can be had through donations here in this county. If you go back and look at the Scholarship Foundation, I was originally on that organization when we put that together at the Fannin one night down there. You know, we gave a little bit of money for 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden we had someone step up and made a huge grant to that Scholarship Foundation. We've got that type of people in this county. It's just like the shades over here on the playground. Had a donor send a check for $19,000 to put the shades up. I'm getting calls and contacts all the time about this Aquatic Center. Had a lady ask me earlier 2 months ago, can I write a check? I said, no.
$10 million?
No, no. But we've got to, that's what I'm saying, we've got to have a feasibility study first. But do I think we could get a $10 million check? You don't ever know. It's very surprising when you start really looking at some of the people that are living in our community right now. But
Mike,
go ahead.
I just go back to the study again. Could you tell me what each one of us would have to, what you'd want each one of us to put in, per se, for this study?
What I'm looking for, I think, and I feel comfortable with it, and I'll bring back the quote, but I think 25,000, 25,000, 25,000 from the 3 entities. And let's do a full study, look at everything we have in this county, and look at our facilities, and let them come back and tell us, and prepare an architectural drawing of what the facility would look like with phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. I mean.
Who?
Go ahead.
Who does these type of studies?
Well, I gave them one here just today, and you'll have it after.
University of Georgia?
Well, the University of Georgia does some of this, but when they get into these aquatic things, they'll farm it out. But I will take it to them first. That's who I would prefer, being a Georgia graduate board. I'd rather them do the study to start with if we can. But they'll come back and do that, and then they have preferred architects who's done these complexes right here in the state. But if you go down, you know, if you're traveling with these kids right now to volleyball, these travel volleyball teams and softball teams and baseball teams, and you start going to some of these facilities down in Atlanta and Cherokee and Stockbridge, you're seeing these aquatic centers, you're seeing these facilities because they're 24/7. They're open 7 days a week. They're open 12 months out of the year. Now they're not open in the middle of the night, but they're there. And you know, during the summer you got a pool over here. You spend $200,000, and it's open maybe 3 months, and you know that's it. And then you're sitting here.
Is the pool ever going to be repaired?
That's a decision that the city council will have to make sometime later this fall. It's a $200,000 price tag, and it will be open for 3 months out of the year, 3.5 months. Or we can do the splash pad.
For the people anyways. I mean, it's, I do know it. I know what you're saying. It does take money to run that place. And it's a nice facility over there. I love that place.
It's a great,
Anyway.
and see, our plans there, if we were to do this, and you know, like Eddie and I talked, we would expand the city park, make more tennis, which is not at the rec center. We would do pickleball over there, which would take some of the load off of the rec center. And we might do the splash pad there instead of the rec, who knows? But I think we've got to have a feasibility study to do it if we're going to spend any money at all. But, you know, what you got to look at, we can sit here and wait 2 years to do a feasibility study, and then we're still 10 years out. Because right now, if we had the money and we were sitting here and had a donor and it was all ready to go tomorrow, it'd probably take us 1.5 years to get ready to start. Time we did the architectural plans.
Mike, you've done a lot of work. I appreciate it. I still have concern. I think you said one time, revenue, 100, maybe 150,000, just put that, from what I've heard from different people, it's not gonna be a money-making entity, okay? Yes, it'll help our citizens, but I don't think we need to go into this venture or even think about it, making some money. If we break even,
I'm happy with that as well.
but I just don't feel like there's so many complex parts with your thing that you have to have professional people, your lifeguards, your the water, everything. Liabilities.
And for 24/7.
And 24/7, that's
It's a major.
that's a lot of money.
It's a
That's
major.
a lot of money. I mean, you.
That's why I was saying, what about
So
farmers?
I'm concerned about that because I don't think it's going to be a money-making entity.
You know, I'll go back one thing on the farmers. You know, if you look at the new ag center, that's where the farmers, most of them are at right now. That's what the high school built, the FFA center out there. That's not coming back to the farmers market. You know, could we do a farmers market? But you know, people that are on the street down in front of the county courthouse every Saturday morning, you go down and I've done that and survey them. 50% of them said, we're not going back out there. We're staying right here. They want to be downtown.
Mike,
Yes.
what happened to the cannery?
The cannery is still open. It's had no repair work or no work in over 10 years. And the school system owns that. And the school system will probably make a decision, I'd say sometime in the next 2 or 3 years, whether to keep it running like it is, to repair, to spend the money, or to move it, or to shut it down. I have no clue.
Speaking of one last thing about the Aquatic Center, all right, I'm not saying that I'm against it. I think Fannin would benefit, but I'm just saying I'm very concerned about the cost.
And, you know, we don't know, that's why I'm basically here asking for a feasibility study. That's what I'm asking for.
Well, let me ask you something, gentlemen.
Sure.
If we decided to do any kind of study on this cost, Mike, have you approached the city about spending the money and also the school system about it?
Yes, I have. And,
Have they?
and the city right now, and I said this a little earlier, the city, we have money right now that has to be spent before the end of the year. It's use it or lose it. And this study falls within the guidelines that we could use to do this study. But to me, I think it's crazy for me to ask the city to foot 100% of the bill on this study until we feel like, because the city cannot build this, nor I don't believe the school system would build it on their own, because I just don't think they will. I think it's got to be a joint effort for our community. I don't think it's one.
I understand. The only thing that scares me is some of the obligations that we have as county officials as far as the thing, the job or the projects that lie ahead right now that we're responsible for. That financially speaking, that's the only thing that concerns me. So, you know, it's whatever you guys feel and think. If we can use, would the money come out of the splosh or what?
That's again, I'm not sure if it can come out of the SPOS for this particular study. You know, and it's a good presentation for sure, I want you to understand that. But I feel that we need a little bit of time to really mull it over.
I have no problem. Maybe
Because,
do the study. I mean,
Can I say, I would give you one suggestion, Mike, and I know we've talked a lot about it. I would contact Lumpkin County. They are, if I'm not mistaken, have approved a very massive aquatic center, probably more elaborate than what you're after. You could probably reach out, they've done feasibility studies. I know there was a ton of debate over the usage of the pool, that the company that done the feasibility study. You could probably reach out to those guys and see what some of that cost is, what you're actually looking at,
Yeah,
before you jump off the.
yeah, there are 5 or 6 organizations in the University of Georgia. And like I said, I'm not asking for a vote tonight.
Right.
Because I want it to be the city, the county, and the school system all at the same time. But I wanted y'all to hear what I'm trying to accomplish. I'll go to Lumpkin County. Gilmer County's working on it right now. They've got a previous Olympian who has moved to LJ, and they're working on that project right there, and I've sent you some tentative plans. You've got a new facility that was just built in Gainesville last year over there. And I've been to all these different facilities when you look at them. So the feasibility study is not, the problem is to find the right group for our geographical area. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Eddie, is the school system footing that bill in Lumpkin County, or is it joint effort?
No, it's a recreation facility.
Strictly
recreation.
county, strictly county.
From SPOS, correct?
Lumpkin County, you said, right?
Lumpkin County, you know, they're a little larger than us, but
Yeah.
it would be comparable. See what those costs are for that.
Yeah.
I think they're talking pool, splash pad, maybe a lazy river type deal. It's pretty exotic. But, I mean, you could probably see, I would be interested in seeing the numbers of what it costs to upkeep something like that. They have those numbers.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's in this feasibility study that I have right here, just to give you an example.
I'm just saying, they've got a lot of that work done.
Yeah.
You could get a ballpark idea of what.
I've got 4 books. That's on this one feasibility study, just on this group. That's what-
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You
and that's what,
definitely need a feasibility.
that's what these groups do. That's what they prepare. But they don't come cheap. I mean, they're expensive. So
Sure.
basically, I wanted to kind of put it
It
that way.
comes cheap to us, that's a fact.
That's it. Everything's expensive right
Yeah,
now.
it's government and everybody wants a dollar.
There they do.
A dollar
Okay.
and one tenth, so.
I will
Yeah.
get the cost and the numbers and probably come back next month.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Okay, so number 7, and before we get started, Mr. Webb last week, he made mention, that we should put, you know, our boards and when their times are up on these boards.
The terms of it.
And he actually, in a time, and I've had several of these boards talk about not having anybody to actually want to be on a board anymore. So actually, that actually makes sense. So before I get with number 7 on the appointments, if anyone is wishing to be a board member on any board, please send us your information, what board you'd like to be on. We'll meet with those board of directors for each one of those, and we'll go from there. So just thought I had to put that in there before we got started. So, but number 7, appointment of Hope Byrne to the Fannin County Library Board, and this is an appointment that comes by the Board of Commissioners, and it is a 6-year term. Gentlemen, any discussion in regards to Ms. Byrne?
All these is 6-year terms, right? Every appointment? Or is it just ours?
I think it's the Board of Commissioners. That's what it is.
They were 4-year terms, but they changed their bylaws.
Yeah, they changed
So
it.
they
But you
changed
can't
it
get
to 6.
nobody.
Well, we can't get nobody, that's the thing. So, if anybody wants to be on the board for 10 years, we'll talk about that. No, I'm just kidding. Any discussion about Ms. Byrne being on the library board?
Is she here
I
tonight?
have no issues.
Ms. Byrne here tonight? you may have thought she was a shoo-in. So. No, it would. Well, I'll make a motion that we appoint Hope Byrne to the Fannin County Library Board for a term of 6 years. I'll ask for a second. Okay. All in favor? Okay. Number 8 is the appointment of Casey Dupont Eaton to the Fannin County Tax Assessor Board, and this appointment comes by post 1 Commissioner, Johnny Searcy. Mr. Searcy?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I'd like to thank Mr. Holloway for his time on this board. He served it well from what I heard, and he chose not to come back. I think it was before I took office. But before I took office, I had a conversation with a young lady that I feel that she would serve this board well. She's a mother of 2. She's a Fannin County graduate, also with a college degree. She's also in the real estate as far as building and also the billboard. So she's a working mother, and I believe that she'd make a good board member. So I asked the commissioners to help me put her on, please.
Okay. And just to clarify this is a 4-year term for Miss Eaton.
Yes, sir.
Putting that on there, so. Commissioner Patrick?
I see no reason to deny this request.
Okay. I'll ask for a motion that we appoint Casey Dupont Eaton to the Fannin County Tax Assessor Board for a 4-year term. I'll ask for that motion.
I'll make a motion.
And get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. All right, so number 9, we have a board action on a broadband ready ordinance. And as we've had a couple of meetings regarding the ordinance, I think you actually read it last time, if I'm not mistaken.
Please don't ask me to read it again.
Would anybody like for Mr. Earl to read that again? It's 10 pages long. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. Gentlemen, any discussion on that? I don't think we had any issues during our public hearings. So, Commissioner Searcy, you have anything on that?
No, sir.
Commissioner Patrick?
No, I have no issues with it. I've been working very closely with Christie on it, and I think it's going to be a great benefit to Fannin County if we get some grants and get some people into broadband.
Okay. So I know the wording on this is probably not going to be right, so I may have to have some help on this, Ms. Dawn. So I'll ask for a motion that we accept the ordinance. Approve the ordinance, I'm sorry. Make a motion that we approve the ordinance for a broadband ready community.
Okay.
We have a motion made by
Second.
Commissioner Searcy, and I'll
Yes,
second
sir.
the motion. All in favor? He's in favor too. All right. Technology. All right, so number 10 is a resolution on supporting the Fannin County Development Authority. Application to NTIA broadband infrastructure. And I really can't remember what NTIA stands for.
Got it.
So if you want to come up here and explain that, I'd appreciate that.
Okay, perfect timing. So, I've been talking about being broadband ready for 2 years now. Thank you for bearing with me. Like I've said along the way, I think it will be great for Fannin County. So we have an opportunity for a grant. So this grant is through the National Telecommunications and Information Administration. So that's NTIA. They are an entity out there that now has grant money to offer to states or counties. And Blue Ridge Mountain EMC has been working with me over the past month about the potential to apply for this grant. So the grant has to go through a government entity, and like like I've said before, I don't think Fannin County wants to get into the internet business, so you have to partner with a service provider who needs to identify an area. Where's that buzz coming from? I'm gonna
That's
turn
from
this
that one.
off.
It's-
I think it's, yeah.
We're gonna have to holler and scream.
Better, okay. So, the service provider, has to look at their service area and their potential to expand internet in order for, us to apply to, get grant money to go into certain areas. So without getting into too much detail, unless you have questions, this grant with Blue Ridge Mountain EMC would serve the east side of the county in areas that are unserved, and there's a definition of that, and it's 25 megabits down, 3 up, I believe I've got that right. Anyway, it's this definition by the federal government that is giving the grant. So ultimately, that means bad service. So the grant would serve the east side of the county, south of 515, in areas that Blue Ridge Mountain has their power connection. So up to 35 homes in this area could get, if not new internet that they've never gotten before, they would get better internet.
How many homes?
Up to 3,500 if they choose to sign on to the internet service. Okay, so we apply for the grant, and I say we, I'm asking that the development authority apply basically on behalf of the county, since I've been working on all this internet stuff already. And then the money would flow through us to the service provider to go out and do the work to expand wired internet service to these homes, okay?
Right.
So, what I'm asking for tonight is to pass a resolution in support of this grant. So it's gonna be a very competitive grant. There's, around $288 million from the federal government for any county or state within the United States to apply for the grant. So it's gonna be competitive. What I'm saying tonight does not guarantee that anything will happen. Again, there's hope. Hope is good, but I wanna do everything we can to make us more competitive. So that's where this request is stemming from.
So, and just to clarify, it goes through, so you're gonna oversee this money, if, obviously, if we can.
Right.
You would oversee this through, it would channel through you to Blue Ridge Mountain EMC, and you would be in charge of that as well.
Correct. And I would ask, or I have asked Patrick to help in this grant application process, and he will be a support if we do get the grant. But he's been very helpful so far.
Right. All right, so I'll read this resolution before we, it says, it support Fannin County Development Authority's application to NTIA Broadband Infrastructure Grant. Whereas Fannin County, a political subdivision of the state of Georgia, acting by and through its duly elected Board of Commissioners, supports the Fannin County Development Authority, an entity of Fannin County government, to apply for the NTIA Broadband Infrastructure Grant. This resolution shall be effective as of the date of adoption and shall remain in effect until rescinded by resolution duly adopted by Fannin County, a political subdivision of the state of Georgia. Gentlemen, do y'all have any questions regarding this resolution?
I do not.
No, sir.
Okay.
May I say just a couple more things?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so there is a lot of grant money that may also come for internet expansion. So in addition to what I'm asking and talking about tonight, so there may be, I may come back and say, hey, we have another opportunity with the same or another service provider to expand internet in another part of the county that needs it.
So this is just specifically for this one?
This is specifically for
grant.
this grant, but I do want you to know, and I do want the rest of the county to know there's still hope, or, you know, this is just the first opportunity that's come our way with this specific service provider. So I may be asking for another resolution to support another grant. So, you know, that would be the hope, is that there's more to come. So.
Right now, it's on an individual basis, one grant at a time.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. Nothing further. I'll ask that we adopt this resolution or make this resolution. Adopt this resolution. I'll ask for a motion that we adopt this resolution to support Fannin County Development Authority's application to the NTIA Broadband Infrastructure Grant. I'll ask for that motion.
I make a motion.
Okay. I ask for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Great, thank you.
Got her.
Hey Sherry, will you move this mic down right here?
This one here,
Mike is blocking Jeff.
Yeah.
oh, gotcha.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
So that's going to bring us to public commentary. Anybody that would like to speak, please raise your hand. Come up and tell your name, where you're from. And pour it on us. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm Tom Lecter. I live in Kaysville, just right above Horseshoe Park. And the reason I'm here is to ask about your playground equipment and a walking path around the field in Horseshoe Bend. And maybe include a dog park or a dog run down there, because probably at both parks, the Tomboy and Horseshoe Bend. I've lived there, we go by there twice a day. And we're getting to see more and more traffic going in out there, people walking. And there's a lot of people bringing their dogs and put them out there in the field and let them run. And I don't really know if they're, cleaning up after their animals. And there's a lot of kids down there cleaning up. And I think would be, I talked to about 100 people. And they said it'd be a great idea to come and approach all about that. And maybe the county workforces could build a little walking path that wouldn't have to be 4 or 5 feet wide. So, y'all take that into consideration.
Walking path for the dogs.
Nope.
People.
No,
Like
have
a
a
dog
dog
run.
park.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all dogs are supposed to be on leashes down there now, and sometimes, most of the time they're not. So,
Hey, Tom,
hey, Mike.
how about them red roosters? You see any of them down there?
Well, you tell me about those red roosters. Johnny's my #1 red rooster.
Good to see you, Tom.
Good to see you, buddy. Now, if y'all would take that into consideration, a lot of people are walking down there now, and a lot of people are using that park. We've been there living there close to it for 42 years. And we've seen it go from not used hardly at all to having Little League baseball fields down there, and then it's going back to what it is now. And you can't, on weekends now, in the summer, you can't get in there hardly. So it's a well-used facility. The playground equipment is old, to say the least. I know it costs, pretty good little bit of money to do that, but I think it's well worth it, all that into the county, because there's, like I said, it's being used tremendously.
Definitely. Maybe we'll get the city and the county, or city and school board going with it. Right?
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
one other.
I was just fixing to say that right now there is a grant with money, and I think the chamber has some of this. It's under, hold on, I'll give you the exact name of it, but it's a tourist grant called the TPD, and it's the Tourist Product Development money, and that flows right into the recreation.
Well, what you're looking at, now, anything that we do in the county, is gonna benefit everybody. McCaseville, you might as well start including McCaseville in this stuff, because they're destroying down there now. And Mike, it wouldn't hurt to go to them, and that's for some money.
Can McCaseville spend money on the county? Because they have this money. This is money that's got to be spent by the end of the year, or it's gone.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know any McCaseville business. But another thing that
It's called the Tourist Product Development.
I don't know.
That's what it is.
But another thing on River Road, traffic down there, people are speeding on that road. And in the last 2 months, 3 months, we've seen 3 or 4 big trucks try to go under the bridge down there. The trestle, and it don't work. And that 2 of them's big caught under it. 1 big truck had to back up, mess up their entrance going into the park. We need some sort of signs down there. And I guess that would come under City of McCaseville because they own that part of the road. So, but if y'all could put a warning sign up there for 4 mile post, really warn people about the height of that trestle, because that's where they're coming from. I will approach McCaseville about that too. But I appreciate y'all
Thank
looking
you.
into this.
I appreciate it. We'll see what we can do.
Okay, thank you,
All right.
guys.
Thank you.
Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, Mister.
Anyone else? Higgins.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Higgins. I live here in the city of Blue Ridge. And me and Mike, we know each other. We are totally in agreement on the pool, the Aquatic Center. It's the location we've had a difference of opinion on. So I would like to kind of reiterate putting it out at the rec center. To me, it just makes more sense. First and foremost, putting it at the farmer's market, you have a very, very limited amount of property. According to the tax assessor, it's 3.31, even if it is for, the rec center has about 106 acres that at best is probably 50% developed right now. So we have much more room to put everything in. You talked about growth as well. If we put it at the farmer's market, there's not a lot of room for growth. Well, there's basically no room for growth 10 years, 15 years down the road. So having it at the rec center, we have ample room for growth to, you know, expand upon if we need to. Another one of the points that Mike had made was not just having a pool, but also having basically a gym that's got walking paths, basketball, tennis, meeting spaces, that sort of thing. Well, again, we already have that at the rec center. It's already there. So not much point in basically rebuilding or reinventing the wheel at that point. The farmer's market, most of you guys know I do a little woodworking and stuff on the side. So the farmer's market holds a very dear connection with me. I've been there for many years. And it's one of the last things that, honestly, that the city has. You know, between the farmer's market and the drive-in theater, I mean, most of downtown, unfortunately, has kind of moved on from what it used to be. So I would really recommend trying to save that as best we can. Mike can point out the fact that we've spent basically $100,000 on that place. So to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to simply go back and bulldoze it to create a pool there when we have another facility that's already basically set up for it. Revamping the pool at the city park, that's an idea that I hope the city will discuss a lot more in depth before simply writing it off. I understand $200,000 roughly, but at the same time, it's you're kind of a few steps ahead because you do have some of that infrastructure there. You've got the property there. It's already in a recreational facility, which makes sense because keeping your sports together makes a lot of sense. If you have a child that perhaps plays basketball or a child that plays soccer, and then obviously one that does swimming, it's nice to keep them together. You don't want to be running the roads trying to get one child here, one child there, fighting traffic and that sort of thing. So keeping them at either facility makes a lot more sense to me. And then as far as the farmer's market goes, I know that's not exactly your jurisdiction, but obviously returning it to a farmer's market would be a big plus. Anytime you mention farmer's market, people immediately say Blairsville. Very nice facility. I think a lot of you have probably been there. There's no reason that we couldn't have the same thing. I mean, at one time we did have that. We can bring it back. The consensus of having people down here, maybe they do want to go, maybe they don't want to go. I understand change is a little difficult at first, and people may not want to move. But when they see how nice that facility could be, the space that's there, the obviously the shelter, you know, it's got a nice roof on it, 24/7. It's got new restrooms, it's got a snack bar, it's got ADA accessibility. The city put all that in just within the last 6-7 years. So again, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to bulldoze that and start over building the pool. But again, beyond that, I think the space is the biggest issue. Having room to grow. Mike, you said let's not. Let's see here. He said, oh, you didn't want to do a half rate. I totally agree. I mean, obviously we don't want to do it twice. We want to do it right the first time. So, trying to shoehorn in a aquatic center in a very small space with no room to grow, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I would ask the county to really consider putting it out there at the rec center, or perhaps another facility that we just haven't thought of yet, but the rec center obviously is makes the most sense to me. We already have parking out there, we have the gym out there, we have all the other recreational facilities, so it just kind of makes no sense to me. Mike, I hope you'll maybe reconsider a little bit on that.
I'm going to speak next.
All right, well, and I guess it's your turn. All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Real quick, just kind of, first of all, build an aquatic center out at the recreation facility, you have to have a sewer system, number one. Number two, if you go out there, you're not going to have the school system or the city money. Number three, never said we were going to bulldoze the current facility. Number four, you got traffic. That road's going to be under construction for the next 5 years. So we're talking, if we were to decide to do it out there, we probably couldn't even start construction. And you don't want to put all these kids on the highway out there and the seniors, in my opinion. That's it.
Anyone? Let's talk.
You're safe, I'm coming with no notes. Donna Thompson, Blue Ridge. Just one thing, if I remember correctly, we spent sort of on a feasibility study for the White Path building, like $66,000, and look where that got us. So, with all due respect, I just wish people would talk, because this has not really been, I go to the city meetings, and this has not been discussed amongst the city council, other than this was an idea that I'm going forward with. They've not had a discussion that I've heard, unless they're doing it outside of the meetings.
You look at the minutes, we've discussed it 3 different times in minutes.
It's been in discussion. I can tell you that 3 of the other council members have told me that they don't support it. I can't speak for them. I would recommend y'all talk to them. But before we spend $75,000 on a feasibility study, I would really recommend another talk like this, maybe getting the public involved to see what the public really wants for it. Because what I just understood him to say was that if it's down here in the city, he wants the county and the school to be involved in it. But did I understand you correctly that if it's up at the county complex, that the city and the school would not be involved?
No.
That's what I understood you to say.
You misunderstood. What I said was, I said, here, you've got the school system and the city and the county. You go out there, I don't know if the city and the county, if the school system be involved. Because the school system, you've
Well,
got,
isn't that what I just said?
then you've got the kids going every morning.
But that's what I just said. So you're thinking
You
that,
You misunderstood.
no, that's just what I said to you. I mean, if you've got all three that are, you're contemplating all three coming together down here, but you're
I'm just
not
making-
contemplating.
I'm just making a recommendation.
Okay, well, there is strong support for moving
I've been
farmers
here
market
all my
back.
life.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not a true local. I'm the first to admit that. Is my, do I still have time?
He did, I stopped the clock while he was talking.
I'm not a true local, but when I moved to a community, I made that community my own. And I try to do things, I spend a lot of time getting information out to the community, and try to be as factual as possible. But I think that there needs to be more discussion before 75,000 is spent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson.
Anyone else? Going once? All right, public hearing's closed. Public hearing, public commentary. Sound like public hearing, didn't it? Public commentary is closed. Brings us to executive session. Gentlemen, y'all need executive session for anything?
I don't think so. I was thinking possibly, but I don't need to draw that. I don't think we'll need it.
Okay. Commissioner Cersei, you need executive session for anything?
No, sir, I'm happy.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion that we close this meeting. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Uh,
All right.
Hope you guys